So today I'm going to be doing a just tear down and kind of rebuild of a 683 Elgin. This is a movement that I picked up in a bunch of other movements, a bin from a estate sale. I know it doesn't work. The balance on it is no good, but still an interesting movement. It's from somewhere between 1951 and 1955. And I just wanted to tear it down, clean it up a little bit, take a look, see what's going on inside. At some point I'm hoping to find a new balance or maybe actually get up the nerve to rebuild this one. So now we have the balance out of the way. We can go ahead and start working on the click here. Well, now that I think about it, just in case, I should probably make sure there's no power here in this movement. So I'm just gonna let that down a little bit just in case. No, there's nothing in here, it's dead. So this is removing the crown wheel, which sits over the mainspring. Oh, didn't quite loosen it all the way. That's all right, I'll just tweezer it out of the way rather than getting my screwdriver out again. And that's gotten it. Exposes the click spring. This is a really well built movement. All of the parts feel nice and satisfyingly bulky. Nothing feels kind of thin or cheap. Sometimes some of the newer movements, I have to admit, they don't feel like they're the same quality as these older movements. Should probably get that click spring out of the way before it pops up and shoots across the room. Again, I'm not planning on actually having this movement work when I'm done because I know the balance isn't good. So I'll just use a little bit of Rodico. This is just some spare Rodico I have laying around. If this was a new movement, I'd be a lot more careful, or a movement I was planning on putting into service, use cleaner Rodico. Oh, that gets the click spring out of the way. Now it's not going to end up shooting in my eye or across the room. Trying to get that click off. But it sure doesn't want to come off. It's stuck on this. It's a pretty thick click, and it's on a tall post. And even turning it upside down and bonking it doesn't get it off. Wouldn't do that with a movement I was planning on putting back into service again. Well, I might, but I'd be careful. Taking off the ratchet wheel. It's reverse threaded. They're usually reverse threaded. And it's a two-piece ratchet wheel. Pieces are a little gummed together. Oh, there it goes. Set that to the side. Bunch of buildup in here. Seen worse. Go ahead and take off the barrel bridge. Just popped right out. Took the center wheel with it. And the click There it goes, finally. Thought that would come off when I did that. It looks in good shape. Never been inside one of these Elgin movements before. It's kind of new territory for me. The center wheel doesn't look in the best shape to me. The points on the end are a little rounded. And this is the mainspring barrel. Pop that open. Mainspring looks fine. Arbor looks fine. I'm not going to mess with it since I'm not putting it back in service. And we'll move on to the wheel bridge. Oh, that one tried to get out of the way. Oh, there we go. And you can see the wheel and the escape wheel and the pallet cock and the pallet fork. Take those out. It was actually a weird break in the video recording here, not sure what happened, so in a minute it's just going to be me putting it back together. But here are the parts, and this is me putting it back together. So as you can see, I cleaned everything up. I just dipped it in some naphtha, and again, that's not what I would do with the movement I was going to put back into service, give it a solid clean, but I just kind of wanted to get the gunk off in case at some point I do find the parts to get this back together for good. Just make sure everything lined up and the wheels are turning freely before going ahead and secure it down again. Oh, that one tried to get away. I think it's that screw and I just don't get along. And I usually just tighten about halfway. And then check again, make sure everything's still turning freely. And go ahead and tighten it the rest of the way down. Remember, you don't have to go too tight on these screws. Just till you meet resistance and then a tiny bit more. And that's the wheel bridge back in place. Throw the barrel in. I don't know, I'm still confused about where this wheel goes. Oh, right there. Goes the center wheel back in, and I put a little bit of oil on there. And go ahead and put the barrel bridge back in. Line everything up. And there it goes, nice and down in place. The wheels are turning freely. And I'll go ahead and secure that barrel bridge back down. Oh. And everything's still moving nice and freely. So I'll give it a last little bit of tight. If I did have the parts to get this going, this would be an easy movement to work on. Go ahead and get the pallet cock back in place. A little bit fiddly. Oh, there we go, found its home. And the pallet fork's turning nicely. So I'll go ahead and secure that pallet cock back down. And that still's moving freely. Looks like everything's lined up nice. I'll jump in the video there, sorry about that. And go ahead and get that ratchet wheel back in place. That was terrifying. Tried to get away, but luckily it just went right up there. And again, it's reverse threaded. Now to get the click spring back in. Only doing the watchmaker side on this video. The dial side of this movement is missing a bunch of parts, so not really fussing with that in this one. Again, if I find all the parts for the keyless works and a new balance and a stem, then I will go ahead and make a longer and more correct video. Put the click back in. This screw is, the groove in this screw is very shallow and had a little trouble getting a bite on it. So, as you can see, my tightening work here is a little sloppy. I'll blame it on the screw. Really might have been all the coffee I drank before I made this video. And that's moving freely, grabbing the click spring. So I'll go ahead and put the crown wheel back on. This one's crown wheels are square in the middle, so they can grab the barrel arbor. When this turns, it tightens the mainspring. So you gotta line everything up just right. Because it is a square peg, not a round hole. And there we go. So that click only lets the wheel turn in one direction. That's how it holds the power in the mainspring and lets it out slowly. down. And I'm going to put a little power into the mainspring on the false belief that maybe once I put the balance main back in, that I'll get a little bit of something out of this movement. Hope springs eternal. So there's a little bit of power in it. Enough if it was a working movement, if I had the balance complete. It would kick if when I got everything in. Putting back in the balance complete, making sure I line up the impulse jewel with the pallet fork. And this would be the moment where things would normally work, but it's still a broken balance. The balance staff is no good. Give it a go again. Just make sure that impulse jewel is lined up. And normally you wouldn't touch the balance wheel with your tweezers, but I just wanted to show you kind of see that wiggle shouldn't wiggle side to side like that. So that's it. That's as far as this movement's going to go right now. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you found it interesting. Even though it didn't work, I still enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you're interested. I'll be making more videos like this, hopefully with watches that actually work. I got a few. I just need to edit them and put them up. But again, 1951 to 1955, Elgin 683 movement. It's an elegant little piece. I hope I can get it running. I'll probably watch eBay and see if I can find any of the parts that I need. Or maybe I'll get brave and try and replace that balance staff. Thank you again.